So far, we have treated logic gates as an abstract exercise with inputs called A and B. In an exam, you will almost always meet them wrapped inside a real scenario instead, and the skill being tested is the translation. The bridge between the real world and the logic is the sensor. A sensor measures something continuous, a temperature, a pressure, a light level, and compares it against a threshold. It then reports a single bit. Above the threshold, 1. Below it, 0. So a temperature sensor does not report 23 degrees to a logic circuit. It reports 1 if the temperature is too high and 0 if it is normal. The same for pressure, for light, for a switch being open or closed. Every input to your logic is therefore already reduced to a 1 or a 0 before it arrives, and your job is only to work out what combination of those bits should produce an output. Here is the scenario. A chemical plant needs an alarm, which we will call X, to sound in either of two situations. First, if the temperature is too high and at the same time the pressure is too high. Second, if somebody presses the emergency switch. Read that carefully because the whole answer depends on two small words. Temperature and pressure are joined by the word and. Both of those must be true together for that first condition to trigger. But the emergency switch is joined by the word or. It triggers the alarm entirely on its own, regardless of what the temperature and pressure are doing. That distinction between and or is what you are being tested on. When you meet one of these questions, underline every and every or in the wording before you write anything down. Step 1 is to give every input a letter and state precisely what one means for it. T is the temperature sensor, and T equals 1 when the temperature is too high. P is the pressure sensor, and P equals 1 when the pressure is too high. S is the emergency switch, and S equals 1 when it has been pressed. Writing those definitions down is not busy work, and I would not skip it even under time pressure, because the definition is where the marks quietly live. If a question says the alarm sounds when a window is not closed and the sensor gives one for closed, then you need a not on that input, and you will only spot that if you have written down what one actually means for that sensor. Getting the meaning of one backwards inverts your entire answer. Step 2 is the expression, and the trick is to build it in pieces rather than trying to write the whole thing at once. Take the first condition, temperature high and pressure high. That is T and P. Now the second condition, the switch is pressed. That is simply S on its own. No operator needed because it is a single input. Now join the two conditions. The scenario said the alarm sounds in the first situation or the second, so we join them with OR. That gives X equals bracket T and P bracket or S. Those brackets are doing real work. They say the AND happens first, and only then is its result combined with S. Without them, you could read the expression as T and bracket P or S bracket, which is a completely different circuit that would sound the alarm when the temperature is high and the switch is pressed, but the pressure is fine. Brackets are not decoration here. Step 3 is the truth table, and this is where marks are most often dropped. 3 inputs means 2 to the power 3, which is 8 rows. Not 4, not however many seem interesting. 8 every time. I will work down them in binary counting order, and I have added a middle column for T and P so you can see the two stages separately. Row 1, all zeros. Nothing is happening. T and P is 0. And with S also 0, the alarm stays silent. Row 2, S becomes 1. T and P is still 0, but the switch alone is enough, so the alarm sounds. Row 3, pressure is high, but temperature is not. T and P is 0 because AND needs both, and S is 0, so no alarm. Row 4, pressure high and switch pressed. The switch triggers it. Alarm on. Row 5, temperature high but pressure normal. Again, T and P is 0, S is 0, so silence. Row 6, temperature high and switch pressed. The switch does it again, alarm on. Row 7, temperature and pressure both high, switch untouched. Now T and P is finally 1. so the alarm sounds without the switch. Row 8, everything on, alarm on. 5 of the 8 rows sound the alarm. Now that it is complete, the table tells you things the wording alone did not make obvious. Look at every row where S is 1, rows 2, 4, 6, and 8, and the alarm sounds in all of them, no matter what T and P are doing. That is exactly what we would expect from an emergency override, and seeing it in the table confirms the expression is right. Now look at the rows where S is 0. The alarm sounds in only one of those 4, the row where T and P are both 1. This is worth doing as a habit. Once you have built a table, read it back against the original scenario and check it behaves the way the words described. If the emergency switch had failed to sound the alarm in some row, you would know immediately that your expression was wrong. This pattern turns up constantly once you recognize it. A street light comes on when the light sensor says it is dark, and the timer says the lamp is enabled. 2 conditions joined by AND. A bank vault opens when key 1 is turned and key 2 is turned, which is AND again, and deliberately so, since the whole point is that no single person can open it alone. A microwave starts when the timer is not at 0 and the door is closed. Notice that last one contains a not hidden in the word not, and if the sensor reports 1 for a timer at 0, you would need a not gate on that input. The method never changes. Name the inputs, define what one means for each, translate the ands and ors, then build the full table. 3 things to carry into the exam. First, build the complete table. 3 inputs means 8 rows, and a table with rows missing loses marks even when every row you did right is correct. Generate the combinations by counting up in binary so you cannot accidentally skip one. Second, watch for negatives in the wording. Phrases like not closed is empty or has failed usually mean a not gate, and the only reliable way to catch them is to have written down what one means for each sensor. Third, keep your brackets. Bracket T and P bracket, or S and T and bracket P or S bracket, are different circuits producing different tables, and dropping the brackets can turn a correct piece of reasoning into a wrong answer. If you are ever unsure, build the table for both and see which one matches the scenario as described.